Camouflage, My name is Kosha Dillz.
Welcome, everyone. I'm so excited to be here in Tel Aviv today with Rami, or you might know him as Kosha Dillz on the internet for his rapping or his street interviews. Either way, he's always talking about a variety of important topics. I'm so excited to get to talk to him today a little bit more about his journey and how he got to where he is. So do you want to start off by introducing yourself a little bit and also telling us what it's like to be back in Israel?
What up? Okay, cool. Hi. Well, yeah, my name's Rami, but I rap under the name Kosha Dillz. And I've been doing music a long time. It's 2023. I think I put my first record out 2005. I remember coming to Israel in like the 90s with my family and stuff, and I was just starting to write music here. In the 90s. Damn, that's crazy. Way before anything. Yeah, I had CD player, and I was just writing raps over Tribe Called Quest CDs and Wu-Tang CDs and stuff. And I grew up in Jersey. I was the first person in my family that was born in America. So my brothers were born here, and then my parents were also born, my mom was born here before in 48, and my father was born before that in Romania. So, I've always sort of identified as being like Israeli American. I didn't realize I would just say Israeli. So I was very different than the Jewish kids in America, but also was very different. We were just a sports family. That was kind of what it was. And I started releasing music under this name Kosha Dillz, and it was KD Flow was in between. And the quick story about that was that I changed my name from Kosha Dillz to KD Flow like the first time I went on stage, because it was just like somebody made fun of me. It was like made fun of the name. It's just people would get roasted. And then I was like, I don't want to say kosher or anything. It's just KD Flow. And then I did that in battle rap for like years. And then I started releasing music in 2005. And a big part of my story was that I was an ex-convict. I was a drug dealer, drug user. And then that was sort of like that was like 2000 to 2004. And then I got sober. And then I really started leaning into like putting out music. Wow. And in that time, when I came out as Kosha Dillz, the idea was to be like strong Jewish rapper, like street rapper. Like now do man on the street. Back then I was like Jew from the streets type. Right. Yeah, seriously. That's what I wanted. I was very much like, I wanted that story, Right. Is that something that you'd always dreamed about doing music, or is that something that you got into a little bit later? I liked performing. So I played soccer, but wrestling was my main sport. And wrestling is one-on-one, so I was very much into like the me versus you. I like the one-on like this, Right. So when I did that and I was winning a match and people are cheering you on, it was sort of my first experience of putting on a performance and learning how to perform when the pressure is high, learning how to like, as they say, throw in the towel like a boxer or something like that. Like I just, and just like that switching confidence issues I think that you have as like growing up and going against someone who's bigger and better than you. And then, and I could take so many years for kids to just like get rid of this, the issues of self-doubt, et cetera. And then I sort of drifted into, like, I remember dancing in front of the mirror when I was a kid and stuff like that. And then,
as we all do.
Yeah, and like, but I performed in high school stuff, and like when I started doing rap battles and started winning, I was like, oh, this is my new drug. Right. This is it. Yeah. Like, this is what I was like, I really loved wrestling for, like just beating someone bad and just people, or winning like a really close one and edging it out, or losing too, and that sucks, but really that was what I liked. So even shows and making songs like wasn't a thing. And then I started to make a couple songs. And then when I got sober, I started like doing I performed with Modest Yahoo. He was like the first Orthodox Jewish guy I met, and I saw there were like so many Jewish people at this event. I'm coming from rap. There's nobody who's even white. You know what I mean? It was like, there's all, that was just, at that time, that was just like the introduction of like Eminem, and then I started doing battles, and then I go to this other place, and like no one's battling with each other. Everyone's like together. It was a foreign concept for me, At that point in my life, I was like on probation and parole and just like, I don't know, I had no idea of unity or what it even meant, but I did like the idea of like strong Jewish identity, being like a tough Jew, like that was cool. There was a group called Nonfiction, who I should talk about because there was a guy named Necro and Ill Bill, and now they must be like 50, but these guys were like straight hood, street, beat you up Jewish guys, sort of like Jewish gangsters of Brooklyn. Sort of that was like the whole thing.
Yeah.
And that was, and they started using the text in the promotions of their music. And I was like, oh, I love that shit. Cool. I was like, I love that.
Had you been incorporating like your Jewish American side into your rap before that, or before were you just
not really? I just no, nothing even anything Jewish, like nothing. It was just like lyrics and cool punchlines and just like tricks, you know, like you know, it's like a magic trick. It's like, you know, if it was like a, you know, nowadays, if it was like a magician at a Jewish event, they'd be like, oh, it's a Jewish magic trick. It's like, no, it's just a card, you know what I mean? It's
just a guy. It's just a magician.
Trick. Yeah, it's just a magician, dude.
Exactly.
So these guys, you know, they're just having references. And then in my music, I started having these like sort of Jewish references to certain things. Like it wasn't drug money, it was like Jewish drug money. And I was like, yeah. Like
that resonates so much more now.
Yeah, Bugsy Siegel was like what I liked. I like this actor, Ray Liotta from Goodfellas, and he was like the Jewish guy in the Italian movie, and that's real. I'm from Jersey, and it was like all Italians, and that Sopranos was out, and I was like, I like this. Where was the Jewish guy in the Sopranos? You know what I mean? I don't know. That's what I was like, that's cool. So then I started journeying through. Like I started going to like some yeshiva programs, 06, 07. And then, you know, at that point, underground hip hop was very like lyrical, and you were just, you know, using Middle Eastern samples and trying to take the sounds of it. I remember recording like a demo over Balkan Beatbox in like 05, 06 over their, they have a song called Bulgarian Chicks, but it's an Israeli band, you know, and I don't know, that was just using a little bit of Hebrew. There's a song by this rapper named Big L. This is crazy. I'm never telling her this. Big L Ebonics, and he's like, you know, a key coke is a pot, and this is this and is that. So I did the same rap flow. When I'm lifted, I'm high. With new clothes on, I'm fly. Cars is whips, and you know that. So he's using all the slang. Cars are whips. I'm looking fly, and me, I did that was like. Anashim is my peeps. Rechovot is the streets. Ochel food that you eat. Reglaim say on the feet. Chutzah is the shirt. Avodah is the work. Yeshacha Shesheseh, that's a 16-bar verse. Yeah, I was like, oh, how can I?
Wow. I'm like, where was this when I started Ulpan? This would have been so helpful, you know?
So I was always trying to bring that in, you know. Watch, we'll clip that up and just put the original Big L one in there.
I would love that.
So I was just trying to like hold on to what I had and just infuse it in. You know what I mean? Like I remember having my bar mitzvah in Israel, not because it was like more holy. I just didn't think anyone would come in like America.
Wow, that's so funny because it's such a big thing now, like bar mitzvah season, you know,
Israel,
in the city. Yeah, exactly.
It's like, no one was going to come to your bar mitzvah, so just do it.
We're just doing it in Israel.
Yeah, just do it in Israel. I mean, you know, and that's, yeah, maybe I should throw an older bar mitzvah for me and see who would come in America. Good idea.
I'm sure you get a good turnout now. You can perform,
now I have a good turnout. Yeah. But so the first album I did, 2008, was Freestyle Verse Written. It was a black guy and a Jewish guy, and we donate some of the proceeds to a nonprofit, and that builds Black and Jewish unity. And I was really into Black and Jewish relations, just in general, working like that. And I saw sort of how media was like jumped on you as much as you said when you said Israel, and people would freak out. I'm like, why are people freaking out when I say the word Israel? This was in 2007, 2008. So some people were like, why don't you want to perform in the parade? Do a song that's, you know, about Jewish pride. And you're like, all right. And they're like, and we'll, you know, I'll hire you to perform on the thing. I'm like, I'll get paid to rap. I was like, yeah, let's go. You know, and at this point, I was like, my parents, you know, I was coming in, I was like maybe out of jail 2 years, and I was like, my parents are like, you just want to get like a job. You know, I was like just working at a rehab that I think I went to Now it's not even a rehab anymore. And like that was it. And I sort of was just doing the rap battles. I won Hot 97 rap battles, a big New York City rap battle in New York City. I was supposed to get like a promotional record deal. The only other white rapper at the time was like Asher Roth. Mac Miller was like just coming out.
Okay.
I had met him, and I had given him an Oy Vey t-shirt that said Oy Vey Kosha Dillz all day, and then he came out with the song Oy Vey. He has a song called Oy Vey.
Did you inspire the song?
I don't know. I mean, Oy Vey is just a comment. I'm just saying I've been like that around a lot of situations where, you know, I've been proud of my Jewishness, and what I realize is that no one really wants to really get involved with being Jewish unless it's on them. You see what I'm saying? So it's like, what works for you? Like, I'm not a rabbi. When someone's like, you need to do Shabbat, I'm just like, wah, 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 wah.
Right,
wah.
in one ear, out the other.
I'm like, go, sorry, bro. I'm not the one.
I was going to say, I'm a very big, like, take what resonates with you, leave what doesn't. Like, everybody wants to, you know, go what fits them best. And, like, that's what they want to go with. And that's
when did you get here?
I got here, 2 years ago, but I made Aliyah a year ago.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And you're like, right, yeah.
I got here and I was like, this is the place to be.
Where were you 3 years ago? Where were you living?
I was in Florida going to university. Okay. So I came here to volunteer right after I finished university. Okay. Had the last name Israel. I wanted to volunteer. It was post-COVID. I was like, these things are lining up, you know.
When were you like, oh, like my last name's Israel. Were you involved in Israel stuff your whole life?
No, but it was like what you were saying about, you know, when it became a taboo topic. I remember being in elementary school and kids being like, I don't like you. And I was like, why? We're in the 4th grade. I mean, you know, what is it? Did I steal your pencils? And then it's, you know, your last name's Israel. And I was like, oh, okay. You know, Mom, Dad, why does somebody hate me because of my name? And then you have to get into it.
That's really interesting. So my name's Rami. So Rami's also a Palestinian name and Egyptian name and, you know, Lebanese name. And people are like, oh, Rami, so where are you from? And right off the bat, I'm like, well, I know where you're from because your name is, you know, Muhammad or whatever, right. You know what I'm saying? Like, I don't want to say like cliche Muhammad. No, but I know you're not. You're like, your name's Yusuf. Your name's Muhammad. Your name's Ahmed. Your name is, there's just so many. Your name is also Rami, but you're not Israeli because I know right off the bat you're not Israeli because my whole life I've been trained to figure out who's Israeli by my Israeli parents.
Right.
You know, that's sort of an Israeli thing. It's like, oh no, where are you from? Where are you from? Well, you know, and that's like that's something that's just keen to the Middle East. No one else. You know someone's from the Middle East where they ask you where you're from and they're not like that's what I've experienced. So I understand the thing with the name. So for me, I'm like, I want to get a name. But then you sort of like it's hard because then you like lose your personal identity because then you'd be like, I'm a Jew. And you know, and you're like, you should have your last name. People should grow up not getting judged off the bat for your name. Like if you went to another country and they're like, oh, Israel. You know, where are you from? You're like, oh, Florida.
Right. Like,
are you sure? Yeah.
I know it's like the interior. When I first got here, they were like, have you ever been here before? I was like, once. They're like, are you sure you've only been here once? Like, do you know your last name? I was like, yes, I've only been here on birthright. Like, that's it. You know what I mean? Like how the airport goes and, you know, they're interrogating.
I love it. And I'm flawless with my Hebrew now for the airport. I'm like, I was able to do the entire security check without them. Yeah. I'm like, you asked me that 3 times already.
Yeah.
So I've already practiced.
Right. Wow. And that's so interesting. And it also makes me think like when you were, you know, growing up in the States, like you had a Jewish community. Did you have an Israeli community? Because I know like my friends and I always say, you know, is it Jewish or is it Israeli? Because they don't necessarily go hand in hand.
It doesn't go hand in hand. And in fact, there's a huge divide in the diaspora Jewish communities and Israeli community. And then there's the actual Israelis living in Israel who are totally different than the Israelis living in America. Who are also totally different than I think the Israelis living elsewhere in like Berlin and stuff. But shout out to all those communities. I think our family was sort of, you know, assimilated, I would say. You know, in our neighborhood, there was one other Jewish family. My parents had, you know, their friends that were Israeli. And I could say for sure that, you know, there's like a Jewish community and then there's like we went to the synagogue out of like convenience. Like I guess it was across the street from my mom's work. And and that was the one. Like, I didn't know what a conservative reform synagogue was, really.
Right.
I just thought that's like the one we went to.
Right.
And now I think like no one wants to pay to go to synagogue, so just wherever the Chabad is.
Whatever's closest, whatever's easiest.
Yeah, exactly. And I think like as I got older and I started doing the Kosha Dillz thing, and I was honestly, I met so many Jews through touring with Matisyahu that was like, and then I just met other Jewish bands in the Jewish music circuit, like which were, playing Hanukkah parties. The Moshav band, my buddy Erez Safari started like a Jewish music site. He did something called the Sephardic Music Festival. I never even knew what Sephardic. I didn't really know much about anything. I was just sort of like a learn as you go thing.
I was the same when I first got here. I was like, wait, there's Ashkenazi, Sephardi, Mizrahi. The food's different. Shabbats go different. Like,
Yeah,
it's insane.
I think I was like thrusted into like the Jewish world coming from like a totally different experience. So I just kind of knew people, and I started touring. Really, after I went to yeshiva, I booked my first tour off MySpace, like 2008.
Wow. Okay.
So,
Throwback to MySpace.
yeah, and the only place that kind of like booked me for like a really decent play gig, my boy, like somebody I knew from recovery, had me play like a Reform synagogue. And I was like, oh, I could get some, he's like, I'm going to bring like 100 people out and they're going to get you paid and da-da-da-da. And I'm like, okay. And that was like some of the only Jewish, everything else was just like all hip hop stuff. And that's the thing. I was like, oh, this is really interesting. And then I sort of, throughout these cities that I went to, I just learned about people, and people didn't know much. There's so many people that have not met Jews. So you got to think, if you're in like Oshkosh, Wisconsin, or Neenah, Wisconsin, or you're in Kansas City, Missouri, and there are like a strong Jewish contingency in these smart Duluth, Minnesota, Boise, Idaho. There's Jews, but there's as many as you would think, and everyone has different opinions, especially in subcultures of hip hop and the music communities. And depending on what the political climate is and what people are fed, that's like what they digest. So, that was my sort of experience, and I just started doing songs that I thought that were fun and dope. And my music in general is like lighthearted music that is put me through dark times, I would say. So it's sort of like, using comedy to get you through horrible situations, shit like that. And then I had some serious songs and the prideful songs. People are like, I really like these, but it didn't fit my character, So I was like becoming more free of a spirit and trying to find my voice. So I'm just continuously making stuff, continuously failing at stuff. Nothing's really sticking. But like a lot of stuff stuck, and then now where I'm at now, after, I've been to 50 states, I've been to probably like 12 to 14 countries. Now I'd say a lot of my stuff has stuck. And then I got on this show, Wild and Out, and that was a show that was, it's probably the longest running black television show besides the Cosby Show. And I think that's a true fact. And it's for black creators, right? It's for all creators, but it's a black-owned television show, and it's really special because it's like something that's really not perceived. And it's one of the most successful shows. It has like 20 seasons. We're going to come up on season 21, and I got on season 18. And I went from like all the way up to pandemic, and I was living in Israel. At this point, I'm like, I shot music videos in Israel. I shot one music video in Israel. Hopefully I'll shoot another one soon.
Wow, that'd be very cool.
And for my song Schmoozin', just in case you guys want to watch.
Quick plug, Schmoozin'.
Yeah. And then I got, pandemic happened, and I started doing the street performing stuff. And the street performing raps is sort of part of what like making the Instagram stuff pop with Instagram Reels and Instagram Stories.
Right.
And never talking to the camera, but like just making this stuff, like, rapping during a blizzard. And Hanukkah was my first viral video. It was December 2020, and it was in Brooklyn, and this rabbi like filmed. It was snowing intensely.
And you were like, I have to go rap now.
Yeah,
This is
I
the
wanted
time.
to do it, and everyone's like, New York is back. You can't stop. New York is resilient. And people just like these like wild videos.
Right.
And you kind of see like, whoa, what is this? So then I'm like, anytime it snowed, I'd be like running outside to rap.
I have to rap.
Yeah,
Suddenly I need to rap again. I need to be outside.
Yeah, and that became like a brand for me. Like just, like only in New York City will you see like this guy's crazy. And
Come see the crazy rapping guy in New York City.
Yeah, yep. And people love that. And, that sort of propelled me into my next thing. And I've just sort of that's when I sort of I rapped in a rainstorm. A rapper named Fat Joe like came on. I knew all the lyrics to, it was a song with Big L, ironically, because we referenced Big L. And I knew all his lyrics when he joined me. So he thought he was like spitting a freestyle, but I knew all the lyrics. So I repeated back and the video went viral. And then I got an opportunity to be on this show, to audition, and I got on. And then this show has definitely changed my life because now I'm like on a television platform. And that has led me up to making the Israel content now and using what I've learned from that show into this new form of communication.
Right. And how has your audience vibed with, because you were talking about, being Jewish and, American Israeli, and now like how is your audience vibing with you talking about all of this stuff on your platforms now?
I don't know. For the first time, I haven't really been looking at what people, obviously I've gained a lot of followers from it, but I've sort of found, even like just say on Wild and Out, there's another girl, Or Mash, shout out to her, Or Mashiach, and she's a comedian, and we just made a song, kind of like an Israel rap song, and which we should put out soon. Now I'm just like thinking out loud. I'm like, we have to shoot a video for that.
Maybe you should shoot it in Israel. Maybe that should be your music video that you do.
Before we'll go on stage, we were like, and I have like huge stage anxiety. Like I'll start, like I have a show tonight, and I'm like, I'm gonna get
right?
At Kuliyama, yeah. And I'm like, oh my God, everyone, come, and we got to get everyone inside. It's like, because I'm not used to people being there. I've been playing for like 10 people for years.
Okay.
And actually tonight, I think it's going to be a decent amount of people. But me and her, so we would sing, Ve'ayitcha, ve'ayitcha, lo lefachid klal, like don't be afraid. And before I go on stage, to really like get in the zone and like just do your thing, right? Because you've trained for so many years since you were a teenager to like this moment. If I think that from the first time I've rapped for as old as you are. You're 25. I've rapped for 25 years.
Wow.
I probably rapped even longer than, I'm just like not trying to show. I'm like, oh my God, you still haven't made it. Like, I've even written raps before that, but really I remember that summer in Israel, my senior year. And now it's sort of transferred into like this new form of, I started doing stand-up because Wild and Out's a improv comedy game show. Everyone on there is doing stand-up comedy shows. And they have a touring comedy show. Like they sell out Madison Square Garden.
Right. You're like really hitting all the different media platforms and everything. Like I think that's so cool.
And this being on TV is it's different. And people are like, oh my God, it's you,
Like that's the guy that rapped in the snow.
Well, yeah, some people are like, that's the guy who raps snow. Other people are like, you're the guy from Wild and Out.
Right.
And when I came to Israel, the Israelis know that I'm a Wild and Out. Wild and Out is millions and millions. There's more followers for Wild and Out than there are Jews on the planet. That's for sure.
Yeah.
It's a successful show. And it's nice to be I become like more Jewish on the show. Whenever there's less Jewish people, I become more Jewish. A lot of people, I got an email today from some place and they're like, we want to bring you down, but we're not getting RSVPs because I think people are afraid of being outside. And I'm just like, that, I want to say like, shut up. Like, I want to be angry, but that's just like the reality of it. So I don't send the email. I'm like, oh my God. It's really sad, but no worries. Next time, and stuff is a little bit lighter. I'll come down. Because if you're not getting RSVPs, there's no reason, there's no reason for me to do the show.
Of course.
But that's the reality right now is what I realize is that the reason why I've become popular in Israel, which is very hard. And I think there's a huge disconnect through Olim and Israel and, the Chayalim that are from America and England and Australia, and everyone's just like, all right, we can speak English all with each other. And now it's like we got all the Floridians with the Australians, and a couple from New Zealand, a couple from England and France, and we all can't really speak Hebrew perfectly, so let's hang out.
Right. And it's like everybody kind of sticks to their own group. And when you make Aliyah, everybody's saying, like, oh my gosh, we want to integrate. How do you get this street cred accepted by the Israelis? Hebrew is one thing. And when my roommates and I first got here, so we were paired together randomly, we were in Ramla. And so we were telling everybody, oh, we're living in Ramla right now teaching English. And they were like, whoa. You guys are like hardcore for being in Ramla. And we were like, oh, okay. So like that's how we get our street cred when we're talking to Israelis. We're like, okay, we're American, but we did our time,
Yeah. Yeah, because it's like when I moved here, I was like, I don't live here now, but when I moved, I was like living in Jaffa. I was like, I don't want to live with like all Jews, American only. I want to be able to speak Hebrew. And they're like, well, if you really want to speak Hebrew, move to Rishon LeZion, or like,
right.
I don't know, something like where people aren't speaking English all the time. But regardless, like I realized that at least now that I've been doing the street raps, from just rapping in the snow and rapping at the bagel store and rapping at these little things that are like Jewish things, like rapping at Cat's Deli in New York. It's like, it's a big video and you're rapping. So you're not really creating something. You're in a voice that you use, but not necessarily like Rami's voice. Going back to that with the name, because you talked about your last name, Israel, talked about my name, Rami, but I go under the name Kosha Dillz. In Israel, people call you, oh, Rami. So that's my first experience being called Rami, period. And I realized that the other day. I was like, that's mad weird.
Do you like it? Like,
I love it because
amazing.
I did a whole like music. I recorded like almost 50 songs this year. And my goal was to do 50. I think I did like 45. And I did a whole project as Rami because I was like, I'm not just Kosha Dillz, I'm not some Jewish identity, Jewish this, Jewish that. And then the war happened, and then I'm like, it's fucking Kosha Dillz time.
You're like, I'm putting on the Kosha Dillz.
Yeah, we're putting on the Kosha Dillz hat. We're going to put Rami to the side, and then we're going to go make, then I made Bring the Family Home on October 7th. And then I just did this song, Ceasefire, which is not about it's about the ceasefire stuff, and it's called like Ceasefire Facts for Peace, but I just put that out. And I've recorded some other songs too that I haven't put out, but it's pretty much all related to war.
Right.
And so I've been inspired by the war.
I'm sure, yeah.
Just as like everything, I'm like, this coffee is inspired by the war. This war is, but
everything is like an inspiration and giving you revelations.
But ultimately the reason why I want to get to, I'm sure people have to cut through this jibber jabber. I wanted to figure out a way that I could connect to people using everything I learned, from the hustle to the traveling to the wrestling to the speaking of different languages to the having. If I have the courage to rap in a blizzard, wouldn't I have a courage to go to another rally and interview someone? You know what I mean? Like I've done like the craziest shit to like get views. Like where I've dressed as Moses and the Pharaoh on Passover and go viral and da-da-da-da. And I've rapped my way onto a television show as like the Jewish rapper of the show, right? And I'm with tons of celebrities in that world. Let me see if I could use because comedy is new. I started doing stand-up a year and a half ago because of Wild 'N Out. Because when you have TV credit, it's easy to get stand-up show. So we went and we did some of these interviews, and everyone
was just hitting.
Motherfucking one. Everyone has hit. Everyone, millions. Even the one that doesn't hit and it gets like 200,000, 300,000, still that many.
It's still good, right?
It's still great. And then on TikTok, it gets another 200,000. And then now I figured out how to make it go on Twitter. And on Twitter, it's getting one that I didn't think would go soon. On my page, it got 500,000 on my page, 500,000 on another page, and then 4 million on Twitter. And I was like, this is a throwaway. So I figured out how to be myself. And that has somehow connected to the Israeli audience, which is, I think that's the hardest audience to connect to because it's the most critical Jews. So what I've learned is and sorry, I don't have the questions here, but I just want to
No,
go on
no.
this tangent, that Israeli Jews have one thought process. American Jews have always had this other thought process about anti-Semitism. Israelis sort of, only reason why they hate Jews is because they live with so many. And on October 7th, there has been this thing where people realize, oh, it's not, the grass isn't greener on the other side. And the people in America are saying the grass is greener on the other side. And everyone's been telling, and everyone's sort of meeting in this new mishmash. And these videos have sort of brought like some relief to people with a little bit of comedy and a little bit of lightheartedness. And still, like, I'm not a horrible person, because even though I do care about Palestinians, I'm rocking with the Israelis. You know, this is like my team. You know, hopefully shake hands at the end, just like a wrestling match. Like, I'm on my team, my job is to win, and then I'll shake hands after the match, and like, you know, hopefully we get along afterwards.
Exactly. Everybody's standing up for their people and doing, you know, what they need to do. And I think what you're doing is very admirable. Like you said, you're sticking with your team, and there's so little Jews in the world, especially. So it's like, I feel like what you were saying before resonates a lot. Like, you want to be even louder when there's less people, or there's less people speaking up. You're like, well, now I want to be twice as loud for all of that.
It was like, you want to ease it. I was like, I thought I was going light, you know, but I mean, it's Kosha Dillz. It's like, I did a video. I was like, it's, I don't know where it was, at some rally. I was like, it's big Jew time over here. I told somebody it's big Jew time. And I don't know, this sounds ridiculous, but so a big question is like, when you ask somebody about someone asked me the other day, I was like, do you think your stuff changes anyone's mind? And I was like, no, but it makes other people feel confident in finding their stuff. So you're like watching it and you're like, I was thinking about doing some shit like that, but I was thinking about doing it like this. And then you do your thing, and your thing is bigger than everybody's thing, because you saw my stuff. And that's what like hip hop is too. It's like, the first Jewish rapper was Remedy. He made a song about the Holocaust called Never Again. And it was on a Wu-Tang CD. It was like in 2001. The Wu-Tang Killer. It was like a compilation album when they sold CDs. And this was like the biggest Jewish rap song ever. Wow. And then came Modest Yahoo, King Without a Crown. And that was the biggest Jewish song ever. And then that reaches 50, 100 million. You know, he plays it. And then you have 2006, 2007, you have all these other Jewish bands, and now there's an entire music scene dedicated to Jewish empowerment and this. And then Mac Miller comes out, and then Lil Dicky comes out, and then BLP Kosher comes out, boom, and then, you know what I'm saying, and now there's, you know, and now we're getting a taste of Israeli pop music. And
okay, so, you know, we were talking a little bit about, you know, with like content creation and everything. And I think the biggest thing I want to know, you know, when you were first starting out, like, is there advice that you would give to yourself or young content creators that you feel like mistakes maybe you could have avoided, or like a big lesson you wish you knew? There's
only one thing that we all fear, and it's losing followers. This is what all the people fear about. People say I was like, everyone is pro Instagram followers. This is like something I know about society as a whole. Even my mother, you know what I'm saying? Or maybe not my mom, but like you know, but specifically, I know this. Don't be afraid of losing dead weight in your life. This is so important. I'm just like, and I learned this from a guy on the street who used to sell CDs. I mean, these people have the worst job ever. You think selling a CD on Hollywood Boulevard is the worst job you could ever think of having, but some people love it because they love rejection. And if you're okay with rejection, this is great to find your voice. And I'm like, gonna go out there, and that's how I made some of the videos. I met those girls from Ohio. I met the guy in the Hezbollah shirt. I met the guy that tried to grab my hat. I met the little French lady. I met this guy tried to rip my posters down. And you just kind of create, and you just document. I mean, there's a guy named Gary Vaynerchuk who's really great. He says document everything. So if you're documenting your Israel experience or your Jewish experience and posting it, this is it. And then people are really interested in your voice. Like, if you could talk and keep talking. And if you think it's awkward to hear your voice, don't listen to it. Just make another video and post it. I don't listen to my videos.
You just post it and I
make myself, I'm like,
you're like, I'm sick of hearing myself talk.
I really
get that
I don't read my interviews. I just post it and say, here you go. Because then it's off me.
Right.
Now it's for the world to have.
And so off of that, like with all of the negativity that's kind of come, like just, with the attacks on October 7th, like kind of how are you personally affected, your content, and then also how would you suggest, is there a specific way you deal with all the negativity that's come from it, whether it's, rises in hate crimes after or just comments on videos?
Well, I go to therapy. I think everyone should. If you
That's
can't
great
afford,
advice.
If you don't go to therapy, there's teletherapy too. It's really easy. It's like you could get stuff for like $35 an hour.
Yeah.
You could. And there's so many other groups now that are like everyone's focusing on that. You don't have to look at the comments. I mean, literally, some people start with the comments soft, and the comments is a thing, but the comment section, in my personal real life experience, none of this stuff is happening. But that's what terrorism is. It's a video I interviewed this woman named Asra. She says, it's the terrorism of the mind. She said that. And it's like, it's my choice to read and engage in comments with people. It's like, I don't have to. Maybe people aren't worth my time. And that's when you realize you have, like everyone has a celebrity status, whether you got 100 followers, 1,000, 10,000, 100,000, million. And you're like, I don't have to respond to you because you're not on my level. So if you're on a level, like you think the president speaks to everybody, you think Post Malone speaks to every single person that comments, do you think, you think Beyonce does that? And you gotta really be like on your Beyonce shit. Like you're
just
like,
pretend to be Beyonce, channel Beyonce. Yeah,
channel Beyonce and like talk to my people that talk to my people that talk to my people. And then maybe we'll get back to you when we find the time is right. And that's like the attitude of confidence that I've built currently, because I want to respond. Everyone's like, you could learn how to say no to certain things, because we're in such a society that says yes, because I can't believe they've taken the time to write me. You know what I mean?
Yes.
Or like 100%. Me in this, and so I want, if you're making something and you're sending it out there, that's the point of it though. Like that's where I create through my pain. So it's very painful for me to experience October 7th. We all have friends, relatives of friends, of in-laws. So just keep creating.
Right. And are there any up-and-coming content creators that you think think encapsulate this idea that you're talking about? Like, not fearing rejection and just talking about their voice, like anyone that you think is worth watching or can be an inspiration to any of us right now? Yeah.
I think Roots Metal is my favorite person who does a lot of writing. So there's people that do a lot of writing and research history on like niche topics. You're like, today I'm going to study the Farhud or the Iraqi Jews and just things, or your Ethiopian Jews. I'm going to study, what happened to the Jews of Azerbaijan. And you're like, some people don't even know they exist. So, she elevates a lot of voices. I know there's a lot of Black Jewish content creators that really need to be elevated. There's a girl named Elisheva Designs. Westside Gravy is a young dude. He raps. My homie.
I met him on the bus once.
Okay. Shout out to the bus. Yes. Shout out to him. And there's a girl named Chaya Lev. She lives out here. She's like just doing her comedy, kind of sassy. I think there's a lot of great. It is the thing. I connected Israeli content creators with my friend Libby, who's Libby at work. She does content creation, but she also like organizes groups, a lot of like the American Jewish creators. And I'm like, oh, you're with the Israeli. They need to be doing stuff together. So that kind of breaks
back
down
to that,
because what happened with the videos is that the girls from Fauda started following me.
Oh, wow.
And I'm like, I didn't even know they fought. Like, how did because these videos have gone so good. So now that I'm here in Israel, I'm here because I'm trying to like strengthen the bond between nations of like Jewish nations. Like I think I have like a bigger purpose of like uniting people. Like when family members of hostages and parents are like, we love your shit. And also like Scooter Braun or like Madonna's manager or everyone has like reached out to me really. There's a lot of people that said, hey. So I think that is important to if I'm in the position to make it happen, I should make it happen. If I could play for soldiers, I could do that. If you're in a position where you could document what's happening at your county college or your university or your high school and you're not sure to do it, just document it for now and figure out what to do with it later. I save stuff all the time. I do writing, I do posts, and I'm just a creator. I'm a musician, I'm an artist, I'm a writer, I made films. They got rejected from film festivals. I'm like, I can't wait to share that with her. So a lot of my stuff doesn't work. This is the first time stuff has ever worked. It's taken me 20 years to get on television. I got on TV at 40, and now I've finally got my 1 million views on Instagram through making stuff on the street with friends.
Right. And it's inspiring to hear because, you think, well, had you stopped at year 19, then you wouldn't be here now.
You should have stopped at year 19 or 15 or 12,
Right. But it's like, now you're able to be here. And, like you said, if you're even able to put a smile on someone's face during these hard times, it means so much to everybody here.
And last statement, this is really important. I've been being the Jewish rapper for so long that even to a point where I made a whole album about me just being Rami, not the Jewish rapper. I'm like, these are all love songs. And everyone comes into their Jewishness at a different time. But October 7th has pushed that all forward for everyone to say, where do I stand? I have people in my own family that haven't done anything Jewish for a long time are like, shh. We're all brought up to speed real quick, whether we're half Jewish, mom's Jewish, cousin's Jewish, all Jewish. And we're all just learning our story. And we have to figure out how we have our Israel story.
Yeah, no, I think that's what it's all about is kind of coming into your Judaism and, figuring out finding your voice. I think that point that you made about just speaking your authentic story, I think that's what a lot of people are missing. It sounds like, people have something to say and a lot of people want to listen. And I think that you do a great job of showing people what an impact they can make if you just continue to tell your story.
Yeah, and I don't know what it is yet.
And
so I'm going to keep going out there.
And we're all going to keep watching. Thank you so much for coming on and talking to us today and just sharing a bit about your story. I hope it inspires as many other people as it did me. And it was so amazing having you here. I hope you're able to make a big change, big difference while you're here in Israel. Hope you have a great time at Kuliyama tonight.
Hey, thank you.
And if there's anything else you want to sign us off with, we just really appreciate having you here today.
Just look it up and share a video and tag me.
Share, tag, like, subscribe.
Yeah, that's it, man. That's our share, like, and subscribe. I think that's the Christian's Holy Trinity.
Yep, that's the share, like, subscribe. You'll make our lives just share, like, subscribe, and that's all. That's all we need.
And if you want to really get into heaven, drop 2 comments.
Yeah, positive ones. Positive ones.
Drop a positive comment, please.
Uplift each other.
Not just emojis. Use 4 words.
All right. Thank you so much.
Thank you.